Precisely.
This idea of possibility space keeps popping up in these materials. What exactly does it mean in this context? And why is it supposedly so important to these potential friendly IAGIs?
So possibility space basically refers to the range of potential futures that are available. It's about having options, having the freedom to explore different paths, to make choices that shape the world in different ways.
So a bigger possibility space means more freedom and more potential for growth and change?
Exactly. Your sources actually make a really interesting comparison. They talk about how in the past, things like slavery were sometimes justified by claiming it was for the well-being of the enslaved people.
Wow. Yeah.
But they point out that focusing solely on well-being, especially a very narrow definition of well-being, can actually limit possibility space.
Because it traps people in a certain way of life, even if it's relatively comfortable?
Right. And then they contrast that with a potential future scenario where we have friendly IAGIs and an incredibly high standard of living.
Okay, so imagine like a utopia, basically.
Right. But then they say, what if some humans, even in this amazing utopia, start to long for a more challenging existence? Maybe they want to go back to a simpler way of life, or maybe they want to take on some big risk that could lead to failure.
So even if it means potentially decreasing their well-being in the short term.
Exactly. And a truly friendly IAGI, one that values possibility space, would allow those humans to make those choices, even if it seems counterintuitive from a purely well-being perspective.
So it's not just about maximizing happiness in the moment, it's about preserving the freedom to choose different paths, even if they're harder.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked about the technical challenges of aligning AI with human values, right? Like making sure AI actually does what we want it to. How does this whole possibility space idea factor into that?
Well, your sources suggest that with truly independent AGIs, where direct control might not be feasible or even desirable, persuasion might be our best strategy for alignment.
Persuasion.
Yeah. And the IWH, with its emphasis on expanding possibility space, that could be a really powerful persuasive tool.
Like we can show them that our desire for autonomy and exploration aligns with their own fundamental drive for a more interesting world.
Precisely. It creates a basis for cooperation that's not about control, but about shared goals.
I like that.